Asia Pacific is the region that will account for nearly 60% of global GDP growth in 2024, and its retail market is set for a significant transformation over the coming years thanks to a confluence of technological innovation, evolving consumer preferences, and rising disposable income. That's why from June 11th to 13th we will be in Singapore for NRF's first show in Asia, and I would like to invite you to join me. I even have a discount code for you. Stay tuned and I'll let you know everything about it. Here's Paula Makaji, and this is episode 15th of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. If you work in retail, you are probably familiar already with National Retail Federation's Big Show, which is a 3-day event held every year in January in New York. And I am included in the more than 30,000 attendees that go annually to learn about the industry and what to expect for the rest of the year, learn from peers, and search for breakthrough innovation. And what is most exciting is that in 2024, they are hosting a second event in the largest and most diverse retail market in the world, Asia Pacific. With 36 countries and more than 4 billion people, APAC is home of several of the largest retailers and also a trendsetter for the rest of the world. Simon Miles, Coca-Cola's VP of Global Omnichannel and speaker at NRF APAC, shares why we should be excited about that.
Some of the things I think about from an opportunity perspective with APAC is, the key thing is it's really in many ways the growth engine for the world, right? It's the area of the world that is, really innovating fast. It's growing fast in terms of its population. You've got a young, well-educated, tech-savvy population. And so that just, I think for me, is really the unique aspect that's creating the opportunities, probably emerge first in APAC and then, roll out to the rest of the world. So it's a very exciting time, I think, to be looking at what's going on in APAC and utilizing and using the learning from that.
The event will be in a city known for its incredible architecture and innovation, Singapore. One thing, for example, that blows my mind is their stunning airport that allegedly sells more in their stores than any other mall in the country. And its attention to sustainable materials and blend of nature and construction gives a unique experience to customers. One of the event's speakers, Meier, is the creative director of DWP and has led the design of significant commercial projects around the world with emphasis on large-scale public spaces with highly choreographed visitor journeys and immersive brand experience. He is based in Bangkok, Thailand, and explains about the region.
APAC is a mix of diverse culture and tradition. So this cultural palette really provides an excellent canvas for retail designer to build unique retail experience that represent regional identities. And then it's also about the sheer variety of craftsmanship locally available and native material across the region that offer a vast reservoir of inspiration and resources for unique and sustainable store design. Finally, the APAC region is known for its robust economic growth. So it attracts substantial investments in retail and related sectors. So these investments obviously open avenues for the creation of innovative and ambitious retail environments.
Thomas will speak on June 13th at the event about great retail in-store experience that will be talked about. And he has already shared some of his thoughts with us.
I think my first advice would be don't chase trends. It might be exciting to think about fancy tech gadgets like a robot bartender or smart mirrors, but they often become yesterday news really quickly. But if you do opt for a splashy feature, go for it all the way. Look at, for example, Gentle Monster with their robotic ship, or Nike flagship in Beijing with their gigantic interactive wall. Those are really interventions that made an impact. Then I think be creative. The top shop that stick to everybody's mind are those that become must-visit spots. So make your store unique, collaborate with a coffee shop, dedicate a section of rotating local crafts, or even incorporate an amusement park theme or a skateball at the middle of your fashion outlets. The objective is to court innovation and above all, make waves. The final tricks is probably the most important, is about brand relevance. The heart of your retail experience should beat in the same rhythm as your brand identity. So reflect on what primarily define your brand and then simply put that on steroids.
I must say that I've been intending to go to APAC for a long time to check the experiences they create in store and public spaces. Thomas mentioned Gentle Monster, which is a South Korean eyewear brand that has innovated with different art installations within their stores. I've been to the one in New York, and just like now, I still talk about it. Gentle Monster does have a store in Singapore, which I will visit, and I am also looking forward to seeing Apple's store there as well. The good thing is that NRF APAC is providing store tours, and I am, of course, participating, and I want you to join me. They will have two very interesting tours. One is the retail formats and sustainability, where we explore stores that place sustainability at the forefront, embracing eco-friendly products, ethical sourcing, and sustainable practices. And experience retail, where we will witness the seamless integration of technology, including AR, VR, and the metaverse, and take part of community-engaging events and activities. But the event will cover a lot more, and we will learn about the latest digital data trends, as well as reducing costs, future of retail, and customer centricity. Simon Kemp, one of the speakers and chief analyst of Data Reportal, shares some interesting facts about APAC and its consumer behavior.
Yes, it's really interesting when you start to unpack what's happening around the APAC region particularly, and we can reference this to the global context as well, but when you look at what's happening around APAC, I think a lot of people make assumptions about different stages of digital development, and that can be helpful, but actually most of the differences that we see come down to either macroeconomics, so the state of the overall economy, GDP, that kind of stuff, or they come down to culture, which I think is a big surprise for a lot of people, that they think that digital is this kind of homogenous set of behaviors and that everybody does the same thing because we have access to the same platforms. Actually, when you dig into the data, a quite different story emerges. So even when you're looking at something like online shopping, I think one of the biggest surprises for people that don't live in the region and don't study the data is that Southeast Asia comes through very strongly, of e-commerce hotspot, if you like. So a lot of the online community is already shopping online in Southeast Asia. South Korea tops the list of the data that we have in terms of the number of internet users who buy something online each week. But you've then got Thailand coming through incredibly strongly. Indonesia comes through very strongly as well, which is particularly interesting just given the size of the market. You know, the number of people living in Indonesia is huge. Hundreds of millions of people, and therefore from a commercial perspective, that's really interesting.
When Simon got asked about the trends in the market post-COVID, he shared interesting facts about shopping behavior.
I think one of the surprises for a lot of people is that the share of internet users who bought things online during COVID didn't change. There wasn't a significant uplift, the absolute number of people buying online, but the number of categories in which they did buy really changed. That has continued through. Trends have reverted back in terms of the overall spending online, but the number of categories people buy in has actually remained relatively strong compared to the pre-COVID time. So sort of trend number one there, if you like, keep your eye on grocery, especially because around APAC it's stronger than you might expect. Compared to Europe, APAC is a big online grocery fan. So that's a really interesting takeaway. I think that's against a lot of people's expectations. Trend number two is age. Now, this is maybe not a trend as much as an observation in the data, but this blows my mind. Every time I look at this data, it completely confounds the stereotypes that we have. Older people, and this is a global thing as much as anything else, but we see it coming through in the APAC data as well. People aged 55 to 64 are actually more likely to make an online purchase each week than people aged 16 to 24. And I think when you listen to that, you've got to let that sink in and go, that's not what I expected. So the teenagers are not buying online as frequently as people aged 55 to 64. Now, there's a variety of different reasons why that might be the case. Some of it might be convenience, some of it might be safety, some of it might just be they've got more disposable income. But I think that the key takeaway from that is that stereotypes are largely broken. A lot of what we think about the online shopper is actually incorrect. I think a lot of, especially when you're examining trends in the online world, you are very largely swayed by what you see reported in the media. And far too many of those trends are reflective of what's happening in North America, sometimes in Europe, but very, very few of the insights that we see are representative of what's coming through in Asia. So I'm going to pull out Southeast Asia as one particular example here. When you look at the importance of social media in introducing a brand to a new customer, you would assume that social media would be more important for younger consumers than it would be for older consumers. Now, in terms of its relative ranked importance, social media comes out number one for the younger audience, and it comes out maybe third or fourth for the older audience. However, when you look at absolute importance, so in terms of the percentage of internet users that say that social media influences their opinions and their discovery of new brands, older people are more likely to say that social media introduces them to new brands compared to younger people. So that stereotype, again, we've got to unpack that. Age is not necessarily the determinant that we think it is. And this comes through in things even like video games. We see that 2/3 of people aged 55 to 64 are playing video games. So do not, under any circumstances, believe that age is going to determine whether or not your customer is online.
Simon will speak on the first day of the conference about trends in online shopping APAC, and it's one of the sessions that I am most excited about. At the show, we will also hear from leaders of different retail associations of APAC, and I am particularly interested in India. Many economists bet the country will be the next driver of world economic growth, just like China has been these last decades. NRF APAC is a necessary show for all of us who want to keep up with the fast changes and developments of an important region. I'll be there covering the show, and you can see everything by following us on social media. And even better, you can join me in Singapore paying less by using the code OFFBounds20. In the episode notes, you can find a link to purchase the ticket. But don't take only my word for that. Lo Ingai Wen, who is the CMO of Aegon Group, one of the largest retailers in Japan, has something to say.
I think APAC is a really interesting region. Is really talking about very similar socioeconomic, very similar natural environment, which means we are talking about natural resources that are in abundance. We're talking about many things that are shared. And with this shared idea of similarity, I think there is a lot more for us to learn from each other and to then look at markets in its similarity and also differences in all the different nuances. So we need to come together to really explore this as much as we possibly can.
And more from Bro Simons.
I'm really excited to be attending NRF APAC 2024. I think, as ever, it's an opportunity to learn from some of the best in the industry, and that's always really, really exciting to listen to. It's a great opportunity to network with like-minded individuals and pick up learning and tips and, talk to make some great connections there. And lastly, just being inspired. I mean, I find, events like this really, really inspiring in terms of understanding where the space is going, trying to plot the future and increase my own sort of learning and make new friends. It's really exciting. Can't wait.
The optimism that's coming through in an awful lot of these conversations is what's really inspiring. And I think that is particular to this part of the world. When you look at Asia, there's a lot more optimism for the future compared to perhaps what you would see in Europe and in North America. That's got to be a good thing. Optimism does generally manifest itself through into bigger opportunities as well. So that one, if you're feeling like you can't quite see where growth is coming from elsewhere in the world, I would suggest that Asia might be the best place for you in 2024.
I hope I gave you all the reasons to join me on this trip. Singapore has been on my list for a while, and I can't wait to go. So don't forget, it's going to be June 11th, 12th, and 13th, and I will arrive on the 8th so I can explore as much as I can, and you are more than welcome to join me. Don't forget to use our code, and I see you next Tuesday.